That song called me back to last week when we were doing music as spiritual practice. Did you hear? Like the dirty window, like the thoughts that we have that we sometimes have to clear through, open up the veil so we can let the sunlight of the Spirit come back in. That was right in. Last week we did music as spiritual practice, and we looked at what's called secular music and broke it down and looked for the spiritual messages in it. So I was just listening, and I was like, oh, that's excellent. I should have used that one last week. Which reminds me, I was thinking, we've got our Facebook page. If you have a song that you think fits what we talked about last week, put it on the Facebook page. I go to YouTube, look it up, and put the link on our Facebook page. Or send me an email with your list of songs. And how many of you have Spotify? Really? All right. We're going to have to get folks to sign up for Spotify. Because I was thinking, that's not going to work. I was going to make a Spotify playlist and share it with the whole group of 5 of you that have Spotify. Turntables? What's that? Oh, wow. Speaking of turntables, so I saw this on Andy's desk. What does this look like? Huh? You old people know. Yeah, it looks like the inside of a 45. That's so cool. Right, okay, so this week in Lane's email, Lane, remind me, because I'll forget, because it's Sunday and I don't remember anything after Sunday, instructions on how to sign up for Spotify. So you can get Spotify, so you can get the playlist, and you can send me the song so we can make a secular song playlist that's really spiritual. Are you with me on that? Because that's what this is all about. Now, the whole month is life as spiritual practice. We started out with play for April Fool's Day, play as spiritual practice. Then we did music as spiritual practice. And today, before the secret, it's nature as spiritual practice. And I call it before the secret because that the secret came out and everybody was all excited, like, "Ooh, here's the secret." Well, you know what? The secret's been around for a really long time, and I believe that the secret is in nature. If we just pay attention to how life unfolds in the natural world, we get some really good clues as to how our life can unfold in a more natural way. And the one that really got me, back to the music thing for a minute, after I left, I thought about, Stevie Wonder's Secret Life of Plants. So I pulled up his Secret Life of Plants sort of rock opera thing and was listening to it all week and just got so enthused with this idea of plants and what that's all about. So I thought I would bring this to us this week and talk about how nature so freely gives its joy, its life, its wisdom to us as we pay attention to it. See, nature is really like the most ancient religion. Paganism was based on nature, right? And our own Christian faith has a lot of that stuff in it. What do you think Easter's all about? It's about the spring. It's really about the spring and the season of growth coming back again, and the whole Christmas and the light and happening near the winter solstice. Why? Because at that point, the sun is starting to come back up and the days are getting longer and the light is returning. The light as in Jesus. Wow, imagine that. Because see, the scholars actually thought that Jesus was born around April, but they moved it back into the solstice because it helped to work around with the folks that were already dealing with that holiday from a pagan perspective. Imagine all that. Now you tell a Christian you're part pagan, they go, "What?" But see, this is why reading is a dangerous thing. They don't even teach handwriting in school anymore. Cursive writing, did you know about that? Right? It goes from printing right to typing. No more. What? Oh, they're doing it? They're back? They're back? Oh, that's so good. Yay! Thank you, teacher, for showing up and telling us the truth about this kind of stuff. But back to nature. Nature soothes and amazes. I love going out. I've got a camper. I've taken that thing to 31 states. I've gone to, there was this blue hole in New Mexico. It's this sinkhole. Well, it's actually a cave that's filled with water. It's crystal clear. It's 63 degrees, so nothing better than being in New Mexico in July and diving into a 63-degree cool pool where divers are diving in because they can go down so far and they can see so clear. It's just such a lovely experience. Or hiking. One of my trips took me hiking along Kings Canyon, and we got to this one spot where we climbed down off of a ridge down to a ledge below, and I could see 14 mountain ranges off into the distance. Wow. You know, nature just soothes. It brings this sense of healing to us. Going to Multnomah Falls, or I love going to the Big Island, all the waterfalls that are on the Big Island. Anytime I get an opportunity to go out in it, I've got 4 friends. Well, I've got more than 4. I hope. But I have 4 in particular that we used to hang out with all the time, and they nicknamed me Brother Nature, because I love to go out in nature so much. That became my nickname. And my buddy Craig's here today. We go out to Joshua Tree. It's been a lovely weekend out at Joshua Tree. Just a wonderful place. Anywhere that you can go and experience what nature can bring to us, what nature can teach us, what nature can show us. And what's important about this is to know that it's not just the experience of going there, but it's what we do with it. What we do with it. Dr. Holmes talks about this. He says, real success lies not in how much we know, but in the use we make of what we do know. Now hold on to that thought. The use of what we make of what we do know. We know a whole lot, but what do you do with that you know? Do you just wait until you're playing Trivial Pursuits? And if you are, why are you still playing Trivial Pursuits? That game's old. But hey, you know, or do you get into what we can do with what we know? And going into nature, the thing that gets me about it is that she calls me. And when she calls me, she cures me. It's a lovely thing. I mean, this week, I was working in my garden, planting my tomatoes and planting my shishito peppers and the green beans and the radishes and the carrot seeds and spacing them apart and thinking, ooh, I'm going to thin these out pretty soon. And that means I'm going to get baby carrots to eat and all that. Just enjoying that time there and thinking about how lovely that is. It felt like love. And then I realized, of course it felt like love. I mean, what do you do when you love somebody? What do you give them? I love you guys. Wow, you all cut out of Stephen cloth. I love that. Yes, or flowers, or flowers. This woman, I read a book, more than one book, but I read this one book called Anatomy of a Rose. It's this, I don't even know why I picked this thing up. It just called me. Like, you know, Thich Nhat Hanh says that when you go to the store and you buy the orange tie, you didn't pick the orange tie picked you. And this Anatomy of a Rose book was like that. It just picked me off the shelf, and I said, ooh, I really want to get this book. And I started reading it, and I couldn't put it down. And it's all about flowers and anatomy and the secret lives of these flowers and what they're all about. And one of the things that she says is that violets help her to feel less lonely, being around violets. And I know that in my own life, daisies make Johanna want to read poetry. You know, she's on the road today. She's not here, but she'll be here later. I think she should be hearing that. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, go look at her flyers out there, and you'll see that in her logo, there's a little daisy there. So that's why I say daisies make her want to read poetry. The lady who wrote that book is a lady named Sharman Apt Russell, and she says, nature whispers, and sometimes it shouts, beauty, beauty, beauty. Or as I was reading that this morning, nature shouts, beauty, 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 beauty. I felt it was like Cary Grant was speaking it to me. So I thought I would, you know how I am. So I went all off on my own self and went to YouTube, and I looked up Cary Grant to think that maybe Cary Grant had a Judy, Judy, Judy thing that I could play for you guys. And what I found out is that he actually didn't say Judy, Judy, Judy. Is this going to work? Oh, hold on a minute. Let me back this up. Hold on. This is fun. Believe me, I think it's fun. It was fun for me. Jimmy's gotten used to the odors in his room. See, this is like live TV. I am determined now. I want this. It's an ad. I thought I put the ad blocker on here. It's gone. So here's the deal. Larry Storch was this, before he became an actor, he was an impersonator. And he impersonated Cary Grant. And he's the one that started saying, Judy, Judy, Judy. Cary Grant never said that. But Because Larry Stork made it so famous, people would come up to him all the time. And guys would come up with their girlfriends, and he'd say, and like, you know, it was like when people used to ask me, hey, what's the weather? You know what the answer is. You know the questions that's coming, right? So a guy would come up with his girlfriend and say, hey, you want to know what her name is? And he would go, Judy, Judy, Judy. And they'd go all excited. He'd say, that cost you $1. He earned a lot of dollars by asking people to say, Judy, Judy, Judy. The other thing I found out is that Cary Grant never did any interviews, but he did a one-man show, and in the one-man show, fans of him could ask questions, and that's how they found out about the Judy, Judy, Judy. Look it up on YouTube. It's there. I'm so bummed about that. Did you follow that? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Really? You guys have been coming for a while. That's great. Great, you figured it out. So here we got nature shouting at you all the time, screaming at you that it's here, I'm ready for you, I got something for you. What I have for you is this stuff called photoremediation. Wow, photoremediation. Photo for plants, remediation for healing and curing. A quarter of all the prescription drugs come with a flower as its base of the element that makes it healing for you. And we've only looked at about 1% of all the plants on the earth. And from that 1%, we've got a quarter of all of our medicines. Isn't that interesting? Nature is out there trying to cure us all the time. We just need to open ourselves up to it and to pay attention to it and learn the lessons that it has for us and get the healing power that it brings into our lives. You see, Brother David Standelrast says, the world gives itself to us. It gives itself freely if we allow it. It showers us with gifts. Are you ready for the gifts that it gives? You have to experience the gifts in order to get the gifts. You have to go out in nature and be one with it. There's nature calling. And one of the things that happens for me, I was back to my garden again. I remember when I first got a garden, I was so pleased with how well I spent 90% of my time on the soil, which is a tip for you. If you're going to grow a good garden, spend 90% of your money on the soil and 10% on the plants, because it's soil is what's going to make the difference. And I had the soil, it was so, I'd never understood what, it just smelled so rich, So I put my tomatoes in, and they grew like crazy. And they were just heaping over the tomato cages, and they were just all over everywhere. And there was this space where you kind of like a forest, a little cave you could go in. And I would go under that, and I would lay down, and I'd look at these tomatoes hanging over me. And I would just meditate there. My neighbor would go, Steve, what are you doing? Shh, I'm meditating. It's just beautiful to get the messages that can come to you. And all kinds of great ideas would come to me during those times. A lot of them related to killing snails. But it's just a lovely thing to spend time in nature. My grandfather taught me about that. I didn't do it the way he did it. I laid out on the ground underneath the plants. He would probably go, what's wrong with that boy? But that's what I would do. But he used to, like when he would be working in the garden with his hoe, he'd just like, and then he'd stop and he'd rest his hands on it and he'd look around. And he'd say, you should look, you should stop, be aware, see what's around you. When you're in nature, stop, be aware, and see what's around you. Get the experience of it. Dr. Holmes says, no, we can go back to George Washington Carver. Well, since you're there, stay there. Spiritual experience is deep, calm, and self-assertive. Now that's really important, to the self-assertive part. It is the result of actually realizing that presence which binds all together in one complete whole. See, once you get the experience of the presence of the divine when you're out in nature, that's why the self-assertive is so cool, because it will assert itself. It will come back to you. See, without even being called on, without even being consciously aware of it, it'll come back from that subconscious place, and you'll realize that you are standing in the cathedral of the divine when you're out in nature, and you'll stop. Once you've had that experience, you'll understand that you're in the wholeness of it all. That's what happened to George Washington Carver. Let's go backwards and go back to George Washington Carver for a minute. He says, I love to think of nature as an unlimited broadcasting system through which God speaks to us every hour if only we will tune in. It's an unlimited broadcasting station, always broadcasting, but the problem is so frequently when we go out into nature, we're too busy broadcasting ourselves. Kind of like I was driving back from Oakcrest, where I went up to visit some friends of Johanna and I, and I'm coming back from that beautiful spot. They live just above Yosemite. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I'm listening to the radio on the way back, and as you're driving along, one radio station is blending out, and another one's coming in. And so I can't hear either one of them for a while there. I have to switch to another station altogether, because nowadays you can't tune anymore in your car. Everything's just digital. I wanted a tuner so I could tune one out and tune the other in. But you can, with your consciousness, do that when you're out in nature. You can tune out the unconscious thoughts, the crazy thoughts that we're having about, did I leave the lights on? What time do I have to get back? What do I have to do next week? We can tune all that out so we can pay attention to the tomatoes, so that we can see, so we can look over the hoe and see what's going on and take our time to enjoy that experience and feel like what messages is coming to us. Because like John was saying in his talk and what the song was talking about, that unwritten book, see, it's waiting to be written, but so frequently what's being written is something we've already read. But the pages are blank because you're here to write your story, to tell your truth, which is so neat about what's going to happen next week when Robert McDowell comes. He'll teach us about writing our own story. And that's what life is about. Every day we wake up with a blank canvas. Every day we wake up with a fertile field with all the perfect amendments in the soil, waiting for you to plant seeds that are going to grow, because that's just the way nature works. And when you see it, you'll understand it. When you experience it, it'll come back and assert itself without your even having to participate in it. These little windows will open up. These little windows will open up in your consciousness, and these messages will be broadcast to you, and you will see God in a flower, in a cloud, in the breeze that blows across your face, in the wave that crashes over you when you're looking back at the land, waving at your friends. You know that wave. We've all had that wave, and you rise back up and you go, and you shake it off. It felt so good. Or when you're standing there and the water is running down and your feet are getting all dug into the sand, all those little moments are so special and so rich, yet so frequently we're too busy to pay attention. And this is a great week to pay attention. What happens on Friday? Remember, anybody? Earth Day. Earth Day is this Friday. This year, the Earth Day Network is beginning its 5-year countdown to the 40th anniversary of Earth Day. Yeah, 40 years. It's amazing. And their goal this year is to plant 7.8 million trees, or billion, 7.8 billion trees around the world. So get busy. You can actually start getting busy today if you want to. See Me at the Garden is having their work volunteer day between 1 and 4 o'clock. So if you'd like to go over to See Me at the Garden, take your work gloves, head on over there, and you can work out with the folks at the garden. See, Thomas Berry tells us that our fulfillment, this is a Catholic theologian, they call him an eco-theologian. He says, our fulfillment is not in our isolated human grandeur, but in our intimacy with the larger earth community. This is a great week to become intimate with the larger earth community. If you don't plant a tree, hey, how about this? Climb a tree. That's an amazing, you want an experience, just climb up in a tree and sit in a tree for a while. And do it, drop your knapsack of customs. What I mean by that is, Emerson uses that phrase, I love that, drop your knapsack of customs. So often when we go out into nature, we go with our, customs. I'm going to go hiking. So I got my hiking boots on and my hiking stick, I'm going to go camping. So I load up my car and I really go car camping. I'm not really camping, Or I'm going to go hunting. So I take whatever I hunt with. Hopefully it's a bow and not a gun, but hey, that's your story. You do whatever you want. I'm going to go hunting or whatever it is that we go out in nature. We always go out in nature with our toolkit. We don't need a toolkit. Go out there naked. Now, I don't mean go streaking. I mean, if you want to go streaking, go ahead. But go out there mentally naked. Go out there and just be ready to accept what it's going to give to you. Free of all of the accoutrement. Skip the trappings. And when you get there without the trappings, you become the receiver. You see, turn off your broadcast system and turn on your receiver. Like the shortwave radio. When you got a shortwave radio on, you got the moment you hold down the button and you can talk. And as long as the button's being held down, the talk that's going on, and the other person can't talk, right? They're just listening. So go to the space and let nature hold the button down, and you just be the receiver and just listen and see what it has to tell you. I'm not going to tell you what it's going to have to tell you, but it'll be there for you as long as you can go with a serene mind, the quiet mind. Forget trying to describe things, try to analyze things, try to evaluate. Is this pretty? Is it not pretty? Just be there. It's so hard for us to just be. I'm a doer. I know about this hard to be because my to-do list has a to-do list, you know? And the really sweet thing about going out in nature is you don't have to go far. Emerson has a lovely phrase where he says, in every landscape, the point of astonishment is the meeting of the earth to the sky, or the sky to the earth. They come together. And you know what? That happens everywhere. So you don't have to be, you don't have to pick the perfect place. You don't have to design where you're going to go. Just notice. Just notice, because it's all around you, everywhere present at every single moment. And when you can go without the trappings, when you can go at every single moment, when you can lay under the tomato plants or just watch a flower open. You know, it's so interesting to watch the sun. As I've gotten this week, has been all over me. I was sitting on the porch reading in the morning and noticing that the daisies are like this. And then in the late afternoon, the sun has come over the house and the daisies are all wide open. And so that was the first day. Then the second day I noticed that they're only closed like this until around 11 o'clock. Even though the sun hasn't come over the horizon yet, it's starting to get a little bit warmer out, so they start opening up just a little bit. And then by 12:30 or so, the sun has now come over the house, and now they're opening up wide. And by 3 o'clock, when they're in full sun, they're in full display, saying, here I am, pick me, pick me. They're like competing, pick me, pick me. And I go, no, Johanna's not here. I'll let her pick them. I'm just going to let them grow. I'll water them instead, you know. It was because I slowed down to pay attention. Then around 6:30-ish, they start to close back up again. And they stay nicely closed for the rest of the day. Now, the really interesting thing I discovered about that is, not only is it the sun working that way, but see, the daisies are these inflorescent flowers, so the inner part of the daisy is a bunch of little flowers, the yellow part, and what they're actually doing is there's certain predators and certain pollinators. There's certain pollinators that are not out yet in the early part of the day. So they don't want the pollinators that are early in the day to come and take their pollen. So they stay like this until they can open up. And by the time they open up, the pollinators that they like are in the sky, and they go, yeah. And then the white part of the daisy is like an air traffic controller going, hey, come here, come here, come here. And then the bee's like, oh, that's my landing spot. Zzz, doing. And the deed is done. Almost done. It's not completely done until the bee goes to another daisy. Then it's done. But but it's close. Yeah. And the really wild thing is, I've had these daisies growing for a while. I never really paid that much attention to it. But this week, because of this talk, I stopped and look at all that I got. From, I know what time they open, what time they close, why they open and why they close, and who's coming and who's not coming, and that all downloaded from just stopping for a minute to pay attention to something as simple as a little daisy. And now what I get to do from that is translate that into my life. When I'm closed up, I'm not able to receive that might be bringing me something that I need, or an idea that might help me to grow. And if I can open up, an idea might land on me that then I can then pollinate with someone else and let them take that idea and perhaps run with it. Wow, how about that? So there you go. You're taking the nature message and applying it to your life, and then your life becomes that much better. So the wisdom is there, but we have to take the time to pay attention to it. So this week, I invite you to climb a tree or just stand out in the backyard and pay attention to where the earth meets the sky. Or maybe if you're lucky enough to have a big bunch of tomato plants that are already full, lay underneath the tomatoes and watch them grow. And so it is. So, let's do our affirmation, shall we? Now we know what it's about, right? Here we go. Nature reveals its hidden treasures as I willingly surrender to its secrets. Post it, tweet it, text it, share it, repeat it. Hashtag CSL see me. All righty? Good stuff. Thank you, Andy. He's always ready. There was an earthquake in Ecuador this morning. Well, was it yesterday? Yesterday. Well, I heard about it this morning. Yeah, it was yesterday. But we need to do a prayer for that. Keep that in mind. And if you haven't got your own earthquake preparedness kit at home, let this be a reminder to you. Let's pay attention to nature, right? And we do live in earthquake country. It's easy to do. Get yourself a trash can, throw all the stuff in like one of those big cans, and throw all the stuff in there that you need, close it up, put it right near the door of the garage, right near a beam, so you can get to it nice and easy, all right? Check it out. Fire department will tell you all about that. But let's go into the healing prayer, shall we? So I'm recognizing that there is one life. That life is God. That life is my life and the life of each and every person here in this room, each and every person that's watching and listening online, and all those that are not consciously aware of what we're doing at this moment, but they are conscious in this thing called life. And so we bring them into this healing activity with us in this space. And what I know is true for me, I know is true for each and every person that I've just identified, that living in the one life that is God, we have access to the wisdom of the divine, as John brought to us. The wisdom of spirit that is encased in the joyous beauty of nature. So as we look all around us, we see the evidence of the potentiality of wholeness and abundance, infinite possibilities of expansion and growth. And so we take a note from that lesson and we apply it to our own lives, and in so doing, the crooked ways are made straight. The darkness becomes the light. The discomfort is smoothed out and eased, becomes peace. We are constantly in one of two states: motion and change, or rest and identification. So as we move from motion and change, we find rest and peace in identifying that we are the divine expressed. We are giving God more experience of itself through our each individualized expressions. And so as I celebrate the expansion of the universe through the expansion of consciousness from each and every one of us, through the expansion of our abundance and our prosperity, our ideas, our demonstrations, our manifestations, I see good popping up everywhere. And we harvest that good as our lives. We write the pages of our unwritten book with beauty and joy, love, peace, harmony, and wholeness. This is our truth. I hold it for us now for just a moment. And now I release it into the law. It is done. It is complete. And so it is. Mm-hmm.